right here, right now. I'm live. I'm with you. Good morning. I'm looking at my kitchen from a different angle today. Here's my microwave. I thought you'd be excited. Good morning, Henry. Oh, wow, she has another name today. Henry, we're going to talk about a Henry today, but it's a boy Henry. A little bit. Good morning. It's nice to see the words good morning sunshine come up there because I'm looking out my window and it is pitch black outside. Truly. Like kind of like the way my eyes look this morning. Sorry about that. I have this thing that I get every year. I don't know. I'm gonna call it allergies, but what it is a cough that lasts for like a month and it keeps me up at night, which is why I wake up like this. But here's the good news for me. In an hour or so after I've had my coffee and been with you, and then maybe a little tennis, you'll never know I didn't sleep last night. You just won't know. It'll be our secret. Besides, I choose happy. Yay! You know what today is? Well, I think it might be a sad day for some of you because it's the first day of fall. Summer, bam, gone. Summer is over. Official. It's official. Summer. Unless, of course, you live in the desert like I do, in which case it's still going to be over 100 degrees for the next few weeks anyway. Yeah, when it gets down to the 90s, we call it a cooling trend. But what I really long for is those of you who have the trees that change colors and the leaves that fall, and you can jump in the leaves and crinkle in them. When I was a little girl growing up in Chicago, I used to call it sweater weather. Not fall, not autumn, sweater weather. And it was my favorite time of year, bar none. When it was like warm enough to play outside, but you needed just a little sweater and you were never cold. You were just right. It was sweater weather. Yeah, some people call it Indian summer. I'm not sure if that's politically correct anymore. I don't even know where that term came from. I'm gonna write it down and look it up, and I'll report back. I don't know. You know, it's like so difficult to know when phrases that we grew up with and thought were just like words, now we find out that they're politically incorrect and we're offending people. So, because this is still cleanup week for me, it's the 10 days of cleanup, if I have ever offended you and said something that thoughtlessly I should not have said, I really am sorry. I do not want to offend you. I do not want to hurt you. I love you. Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, I know what Indian summer is. I just don't know why we call it that and if it's okay to keep calling it that. So I'm going to check into that for us. That's my job. Unless, of course, somebody wants to do it right now and give me the answer. We have 100 days until the end of the year. Is there anyone in the room who is not excited to have this year be over? I know I am. Woohoo! It's 100 days until January. This, by the way, is the day that Abraham Lincoln declared that on January 1st, the coming January 1st, all slaves would be freed. It's a pretty cool day. I'm surprised that we don't call it like Emancipation Day or something. Maybe we do, and I just never heard of it. So today is autumn, officially, and it's also, oddly enough, speaking of fall prevention day. Not like we're preventing the leaves from falling, but I assume that it's designed for people to keep them from falling. Don't fall. They did a study with figure skaters. And you can Google this. I did because I was not sure of it myself yesterday. Apparently, one of the main reasons that people fall is fear of falling. And that's especially true with elderly people. It's funny how when I say elderly people, I don't think of me being in that range, but I asked the CDC, apparently I'm extremely elderly. Anyway, falling is very dangerous when you're older. You know that. Balance is an issue. Easy bones are more brittle, so they break more easily. So you want to be careful not to fall. You want to make sure that you have good balance. And there are a lot of exercises you can be doing, even if it's just as simple as, oh, you can't see it, but I'm standing on one foot right now. And just standing on one foot and then switching feet and standing on the other foot, and practicing your balance. Yeah, don't fall. There's a name for that, by the way. It's basophobia, fear of falling. Basophobia. Use that word today, will you please? Just say to somebody, today is fear of falling day, and I've got basophobia. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of lean on you today. What a fun thing to do. It's kind of silly, but speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about being silly. Maybe we should declare being silly day. It might even be being silly day. I don't know. But silly is a big deal to me. Now, I call it sophisticated immaturity most of the time, and I'm actually going to do a little video on sophisticated immaturity. I invite you to play on that day. But let's talk about being silly. Silly is awesome. Did you see today's word art? That's what it's all about. It's about embracing your inner silly. There are times when there is nothing that can make you feel better than just being silly. When I'm playing tennis and I need to break some tension because some people are taking the game a little too seriously for me, I growl at the other team. No, seriously. I stand on my side and I do this. Rawr! And then I win the point because I have scared the crap out of them. Just being silly. How else can you be silly? Do you know that WikiHow on the computer, if you go to WikiHow, they'll give you like 97 ways to be silly? Personally, I think that's silly. I think being silly is right up there with just being who you are on the inside. Remember when you were a kid, you didn't have any problem saying what you wanted to say, doing what you wanted to do. If you felt like dancing around and singing, you did that. So do that. Do that. Go up to a stranger and sing in their face, but gently. You might get arrested. They might lock you up and put you in the crazy house, but you know what? You'll have so much fun. Be silly today. Be silly. It'll be worth it. Let me see what the comments are. Good morning to you. Oh, okay. Opus says that it started as a term when American Indians hunted based on warm and hazy conditions in autumn. That's kind of a boring reason to call it Indian summer, but I'll work on it. Maybe I'll just make up some new reason for you. Can you hear the squeaker in the background? Bailey, my new dog, has discovered toys. How cool is that? Okay, what else? 1957. My heartthrob. I fell in love in 1957. I wasn't very old, and I don't think I knew what falling in love was, but it was the premiere of Maverick. And I fell madly and passionately in love with James Garner. I'm not going to lie. I still have a crush on him. I would watch any James Garner movie over and over and over and over just to kind of be in the space of James Garner. Anybody else? I mean, I love that guy. And when he was in the movie with Sally Field, what was the movie? It took, they both wore cowboy hats. That's all I remember. They weren't cowboys, but she was a single mom and he was a single pharmacist, whatever it is. I love that movie. Anyway, the line at the end was he didn't want to leave her. And he said, "What's for breakfast?" Ah! Okay. All right. So much for James Garner. That was in 1957. In 1964, another classic came to TV. Do you know what it was? No. How could you know what it was? There must have been a million. But this particular one was Get Smart. Do you remember Get Smart? I liked Get Smart. I think most people like Get Smart because, oh yeah, it was silly, but it was clever silly. That was, with Maxwell Smart and his shoe phone, he'd take off his shoe and talk into his shoe. And his sidekick was Barbara Feldon. So beautiful. She was number, 99 or something like that. She was just beautiful and sophisticated and totally perfect for the part that she played. And the show was written by Stan Burns. Now, I've mentioned Stan Burns before because his daughter Bonnie was my roommate my first year in college. In fact, she was the perfect roommate. We decided we were perfect roommates because I was 4'10" and she was 5'10", which means we never had to worry about the other person borrowing our clothes. It was a match made in heaven. And I lost track of her years ago, and I'm trying desperately to find her now. It's my goal. So I found someone who's got her married name, and I sent a message, but I haven't heard back yet. We'll see. So I'm looking for you, Bonnie Burns. If you're out there, her married name is Green, and she's now Bonnie Green, and I'm trying to find her. So why am I telling you about Stan Burns and Barbara Feldon? Because he not only wrote Get Smart, but he actually did, for a short time, the Barbara Feldon Show. And I remember Bonnie and I got to go, maybe it was the first one of the series, I don't remember. But we got to go sit in the audience. It was a very small audience. We got to sit in the audience and watch and then hang out with the cast and crew afterwards. And that was very cool. I know you won't believe this, but I was kind of quiet. I was just listening and observing, and it was fun. It was really fun. That was when I was in college. So thank you, Stan Burns, who also, by the way, wrote the Steve Allen Show for years and years and years. And he had a show for a short time with live action orangutans or something on the show, which was unheard of at the time. The something link, not the missing link, some kind of link. Stan Burns, funny guy, very talented, passed away quite a while ago now, a heart attack. So Stan Burns, here's to you. Bonnie Burns, I'm looking for you. She has sister Lori. Lori, if you're out there, I'm looking for your sister. What else can I tell you about them? I don't know. Hey, in 1973, Henry Kissinger became Secretary of State, which I always thought was kind of weird because even though he was an American, he had this really thick foreign accent. But I really liked him. He wasn't handsome, but he was really smart, and I've always had a thing for smart. And I remember my father was a scientist. He was an engineer, and he was always on some kind of blue ribbon committee for the president. And he used to go to Washington, and he'd be at these, meetings and have lunches with all these famous people. And we as kids, he'd come home and he'd say, "Oh yeah, I sat with General, 5-star General, blah, 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 and Senator so-and-so and Henry Kissinger." And we'd say, "And don't you know any movie stars?" Because that's all we cared about when we were kids. Isn't that weird? So I'm telling you about Henry Kissinger because one particular trip that I took to New York when I was teaching about balloon decorating to florists. I was in New York doing a seminar, and at the end of each seminar, I would sell my book, and I would sell supplies and all kinds of things. And I'd had a particularly successful event. Not only did they pay me to do it, but then I was allowed to sell my wares, so to speak. I decided that since I made so much money that day, I was going to buy myself the best dinner I could find in New York. So we went to a place called Mortimer's, which I guess was a really big deal at the time. The tables were small and kind of close together. I remember I had raw meat for the first time. I really, really liked it. Carpaccio. I had carpaccio. It was like this thin piece of raw steak with capers on it or something. Oh my, I got hooked that day. But the coolest thing was at the table next to us, and I'm serious about this. See how close this is to me? I mean, like one arm length away. That's where Henry Kissinger was sitting. I spent the entire meal, instead of paying attention to the people I was with or my food, doing this, trying to hear what Henry Kissinger was saying to see if there were any national secrets that he let out. But I'm sorry to report I learned nothing that night, except that it was really fun to sit near somebody world famous and try and spy on them. That was really cool. Hank. I started calling him Hank after that instead of Henry, because we were buddies, because we'd been like sitting next to each other at dinner. We just didn't have dinner together. What else? September 22nd, 1976. Yes. First episode of that ever so famous show, Charlie's Angels. Yes. And why would I even mention that? Well, because they filmed Charlie's Angels like 2 or 3 doors down from the people who were my closest friends at the time, or one of my closest friends at the time, who lived right on the beach. Like literally, there was their house, sidewalk, sand, water, bum, done. And they filmed right there. So we watched them filming Charlie's Angels. It was really fun. I don't care what you say. I wasn't a big fan, but it's always fun to see a movie star up close. That's just the way it is. Let's see. Oh, Henry loved Charlie's Angels. Henry, I mentioned your namesake, Henry Kissinger. I thought of you as I wrote that down, as I wrote the note to myself. Birthday. Sarah Bernhardt's birthday. Do you know who Sarah Bernhardt was? She was a dramatic actress. And apparently she was very dramatic, because I was a total drama queen when I was a kid. Oh, maybe I still am. Anyway, my parents, and pretty much anyone who knew me, nicknamed me Sarah Bernhardt because I was so dramatic. And interestingly, even though my English name is Sandra, don't tell anybody because I really don't like that name. I'm a Sandye. I am not a Sandra. My Hebrew name is Sarah. Oh my gosh, we should talk about names. Can we talk about names for a minute and then I'll come back to her? My name was spelled Sandy. I never liked the name Sandra. Sandra to me was a tall, very, very tall redhead with very long legs. That is not me. I am a Sandye. I've always been a Sandye. So in 3rd grade, we read stories about a boy dog named Sandy, spelled Sandy. I was humiliated. I changed the spelling of my name in the 3rd grade to Sandi. At the end of 6th grade, my family moved from Chicago to Los Angeles, where everyone spelled their name with an I because that was cool. Sandy, Candy, Randy, Henry, everybody spelled it with an I, and I didn't want to be like everybody else. Ergo, I changed it to YE. That stuck. So I am Sandy with a YE, and that's all there is to it. And because my middle name is Lee and my Hebrew name is Sarah, on my birthday every year, I made my children and my husband sing the Sarah Lee jingle to me. And it went like this. Everybody doesn't like someone, but nobody doesn't like Sandy Lee. They had to sing it to me on command whenever I requested it. How about that? Okay, maybe it's silly, but you sing in the shower, you know you do. I just do it out in public, that's all. So today be silly for me, okay? I've always been a drama queen, by the way, but then in the 70s, I did the S training. Do you remember that with Werner Erhard? We could talk about that sometime. Anyway, I like to say that before I did the S training, I was a drama queen and I always had a story. And after I did the S training, I was a drama queen and I always had a story. But the difference is, before I did the training, I think I was the victim in most of those stories. And after I did the training, I was the heroine. Yeah, me. I like that. I also gave myself permission to be silly and to choose happy. It's National Ice Cream Cone Day. Yeah, it is. But today we're just going too long. So I'm going to stop now and leave you with National Ice Cream Cone Day and let you know that when my grandson comes over, we go on ice cream walks. We make 2 ice cream cones and then we hit the road and we walk until our ice cream's gone. Then we turn around and come home. That's how we know how long our walk should be. It's also National Singles Day. And I will leave you with this thought. Single friends, here's what I want you to know. Ladies, men, don't listen. Ladies, just because you don't have a prince doesn't mean you're not a princess. Have a great day, my princess friends and my princes. See y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.